Attorney Glover here. Got to thinking about this lawsuit. Decided I'd do a little follow-up. You may or may not be interested. It has to do with the question of why the lawsuit was filed. You know, lawsuits are filed every day, and some are about money, some are about rights. Sometimes the motives of filing lawsuits are not really clear. So I get to thinking about this one, and we're going to explore that a little bit. Maybe I'll stimulate your brain a little and give you a little wider room to think about some of this. So I used to do a fair amount of civil rights cases in federal court, you know, sex discrimination, age, race, that sort of thing. And most of my cases that I filed where the client wanted money. Some wanted vindication and money, and they all wanted vindication of a sort, but I'd say most of them were about money. But I had one that wasn't. I remember this older client. He was from old country. Never forget him. He comes in and he says, I want to file a lawsuit. And after talking with him a little bit, and he tells me his story. And at the end of the story, he says, they can't do that to me. They can't do that to me. With this fellow, it was never about the money. It was never about the money. I got him $110,000 and attorney fees paid as well. And he could have cared less. It was not about the money. He would have been happy with $10,000. He really would have. And he's one of the rare clients that I had that was that way. Just the money, just, you know, for him, it was about justice. So I got to wondering about this lawsuit. What's the motivation? So I did a little brief, non-exhaustive analysis. And it came away with some ideas and thoughts. First of all, the plaintiff definitely has got an uphill climb on this one. And I'm sure his attorneys advised him of the difficulty. You know, in fact, I'm almost positive this thing will be settled out of court. If it's not thrown out of court, it's highly unlikely it'll go to trial. There's just too many issues here for the plaintiff. That's Hans. Plaintiff is always the one that files the lawsuit, in case you didn't know. So the process will eventually whittle down the claims. So some claims are going to be thrown out, dismissed, whatever. And so there'll be a whittling down. The case there's a phrase that lawyers know about. It's called nuisance value. That's a determination made by the lawyers, typically. You know, if a defendant thinks the lawsuit has little or no merit, but they've got to spend oodles of money proving that, then there is nuisance value to the suit. And they'll try to settle it for as little as they can, and they'll have a cutoff point where they'll say, look, if we're going to spend this much, we're going to go the distance. And so if they deem this case like that, or look at it like that, you know, then the plaintiff will then have to make some hard decisions, put it this way. If a defendant says, you know, this is a nuisance case, it's almost a frivolous case. May not be frivolous, but, you know, they look at it and they say, boy, this plaintiff's got a tough row to hoe. I don't think they can make their case at trial. And so they go in and basically argue to the plaintiff's attorney, hey, look, here's your problems. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're not going to make it. And they try to settle it for nuisance value. And nuisance value varies, but it's typically a fraction, a small fraction of what the plaintiff was hoping for. So did Hans Niemann file this for the money? That's the question. I'm sure he'd like 100 million. We'd all like 100 million. But I'm also sure that's highly unlikely to happen. I am sure that whatever money the defendants are willing to pony up, he'll be happy to take. But I think, I'm not sure, I don't know him, so I can't say for sure, but I got a feel he looks like a smart guy, and I believe he might have had another reason or reasons for filing this lawsuit. Even if he didn't, it's going to do several things for him that he may or may not know. So by filing this lawsuit, he's going to get some things that are probably worth more than the money that he's going to get from the ultimate settlements. So here's number one. Hans Niemann has gotten enormous publicity from this. There's some question going into this whether he was a public figure at the time of the alleged defamation or not. There's some question about that. And in fact, he didn't, as an aside here, in reading his complaint, he really didn't do himself any favors with his complaint. He made himself look too good, too popular, maybe too famous. And if he is in fact deemed to be a public figure or quasi-public figure, that'll hurt his case. That'll make his burden of proof much, much higher. And to the point that I don't think he can make it. I could be wrong. I'd have to do a whole lot more analysis. But regardless, he didn't do himself any good with his complaint in that respect. But regardless, he now is a public figure. I mean, it doesn't hurt his complaint, because the complaint issue was going to look back to see whether he was a public figure prior to the filing of the lawsuit. But hey, he's got publicity now. I mean, he has got all kinds of publicity, and publicity is always good. P.T. Barnum, I'm sure you all know about him. If you don't, Google P.T. Barnum. What a character. P.T. Barnum once said, "There's no such thing as bad publicity." And I'm not sure if that's totally true, but I can tell you this, with respect to Hans Niemann, he's probably right. This is going to be good for him. In the end, the lawsuit's going to bring him a measure of fame that he didn't have and wouldn't have had. And, with the fame sometimes comes fortune. And I think it is going to help him financially ultimately. So Hans Niemann is going to profit ultimately from the lawsuit, even if he only gets nuisance value in his settlement. The second thing is he's drawn a line in the sand. He's, like it or not, whether you agree with him or not, he's stopped the tongues from wagging. He sent a message. Here's the message. Talk negatively about me at your own risk. Defame me at your own risk. If you defame me, I will come after you. That's the message he's sent out in the chess world. And, he's willing to he's shown this clearly. He's willing to sue those he believes has maligned his character. It's a powerful message. It's a message that'll serve him the rest of his career, if not his life. So number three, he will have established a position in the world of commercial chess with the filing of this lawsuit. He'll probably end up with more invitations because of his celebrity. His celebrity is going to translate into dollars for the venues that have him there. People are going to show up just to see him. So the publicity is going to work good for them, and it's going to work good for him. So he'll have established himself in the commercial chess world. It's not going to hurt him. It's not, and that's part of the problem. That's part of what I'm saying here is an argument that I can tell you if I was representing one of the defendants, this is an argument I would be making. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard the plaintiff allege how much he's lost and how much he's been hurt and so forth. Let me tell you, that's not true. In fact, he has more opportunities now than he's ever had. He's got more fame. He's got more of everything. I mean, he's got the attention of the world on him, the chess world. And that's going to translate into more invitations. And as you've heard from witness A, yeah, they're going to have him on. They're definitely going to invite him. And we called up witness B, who runs the so-and-so chess club. And they want to have him next fall. These are the kind of witnesses the lawyer's going to bring in. It's what I would do. I'd find all these chess venues, organizations, and I'd say, are you willing to bring him in? And then I'd bring him in and I'd say, testify to what you told me in a deposition or in our conversation. That will work powerfully against Hans in the actual litigation. So there's other things that filing the suit is going to bring him. Some might liken this next one to saving face, the Chinese saving face thing. I see it more akin to establishing at least a veneer of innocence. So it goes like this. Think about this for a minute. We tend to put more credence in someone who fights for their rights, don't we? Who stands up against the bullies of the world. And I'm not saying Magnus Carlsen's a bully or Chess World or any of the defendants. Okay, I'm not saying that at all, but I'm trying to show you what it's going to do for this guy, because a lot of people do and will view Magnus and Chess World, all this, in that light. Okay. So we tend to put more credence in people who stand up for their rights, fight for it, stands against the bullies, and show they're willing to fight against the giants. I mean, this is a perfect illustration of David versus Goliath. Think about it. So the lawsuit's not likely all about money. I don't know how smart a guy he is. I don't know how devious he is. I don't know how, he's a chess player, so he thinks in lines and if this, if that, it's the way lawyers think. If this, then that. If you broke my mind open in a flow chart, you'd see all these flow charts you'd see in there. So it's not likely it's all about money. May have been all about money from the get-go. We'd have to get into Hans's head to know the truth. Might have been a mixed bag. All I know is, bottom line is, this will turn out to be to his good, not his bad. And that's really going to hurt his lawsuits. I mean, if the defendant attorneys grab this argument, it's a beautiful argument, and I would run with it for sure. So let's see how it plays out. Next move's going to be motions to dismiss for a variety of reasons. As I said, jurisdiction will be right up the top. And there's a host of other reasons that exist, which I'm not going to go in. So anyway, I'm not sure I'll do another video on this. This just happened to grab my brain today, and I couldn't get it out. So I thought, hey, I'll run with it, throw something up. It looked like there was a lot of attention paid to this and a lot of interest in it. So, all right, I'll do it. Can't promise another one, but we'll see. Have a good day.